Good morning, Willowbrook. My name is Tanya Adams, and I'm the WB Kids Assistant here at the Madison campus. Today we are in Philippians chapter 2 of our daily devos. So a long time ago, when I was in high school, these WWJD bracelets were popular, and it was, meant what would Jesus do? So whether we say that or not, we try to teach our children that, right? Well, one morning, kind of like a lot of mornings, I come downstairs to hear my children arguing, yelling at each other. And they were arguing over who was going to get water for who this morning. So I come downstairs, I put a stop to it, and I say, it doesn't sound like either one of you guys are acting or behaving like Jesus this morning. It doesn't sound like either one of you guys are putting the other before themselves. In the chapter that we're talking about today, Philippians chapter 2 and verse 4, he talks about putting others' interests before your own, right? Well, I'm talking to the kids and I'm telling them that you're not putting others before yourself this morning. That's what it sounds like. They're giving me their full attention. I'm like, they are in it. They are in the zone. They are hearing me. One kid turns to the other and I say, here it is. Here's where they say, I'm so sorry. I will get water for the both of us. The one kid turns to the other and says, well, are you going to put me before yourself today or what? That's not the way I envision this thing going. So sometimes doing what Jesus did can be easier said than done. And today, Paul is talking in Philippians chapter 2, and he's telling us when we deal with other people that we need to think and we need to act like Jesus. That's the principle. And then he gives us the example, which is Christ. And that starts in verse 6, where it says, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in a fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even death on the cross. So Jesus was God, but he gave that up in a sense to become a servant, even unto death, for you and for me. And when we think about that, it should give us pause, and it should make us think about, are we servants in our relationships? Because that's how it started. This whole thing started, right? At the beginning, Paul's saying, in your dealings with other people, think and act like Jesus, and here's the example he set for you. So in our relationships with other people, with our friends, we should ask ourselves, are we being a servant in those relationships? Or in our friend relationships, do we always just have to be heard, have to be validated, have to make sure that our opinions are known? What about in our relationship with church? Are we a servant there, or do we just need to be constantly poured into and served ourselves instead of us serving at the church? Or our relationships with our marriage, with our spouse. Sometimes it can be easy to serve out of your own gifting or serve out of your own love language, but much harder if you have to serve someone else in their love language that's not necessarily yours. That can be harder. And I feel like I have to say that serving is not just a physical act. It's also a heart posture, right? When you think of a heart of a servant, it's lowly, meek, humble. Those words that describe Jesus. That's the heart of a servant. And man, how easy is it to slip into serving and look great on the outside, but your heart can be just as prideful and arrogant and seeking validation and seeking attention and wanting thanks and wanting to be lauded. It's easy to slip into that, and that's just not the heart of a servant. So there's stuff like that all in this chapter, and there's so much to think about in this chapter, and there's so much more stuff. So if you haven't dove into that chapter yet, go ahead and knock yourself out. It's great. And I'm so happy to share this time with you. How great is it that we get to open up the Bible with people from all over and read God's word, and not only read it, but be changed more into his image by his word. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Bye.